When players in the media talk about the WSOP, you hear about buy-ins, big wins, and crazy runs. What should be mentioned is the different sides of the World Series and tournament poker. Of course, we're talking about rakes and taxes. Now, if you've ever compared the final prize pool of any WSOP game with the buy-in as well as the number of entries, then you've probably seen a discrepancy. Now, the prize pool should be bigger, but a percentage of every buy-in is said to be kept to cover the organizing expenses. Just like that, when you win a cool million at WSOP event, how much money do you get to keep after the tax person has taken their fair bit? Unlike rake, which is the same for everyone, taxes can differ greatly depending on many factors, most importantly, the country you're from. Sure, it can all be a bit confusing. However, if you're serious about playing the WSOP, then you should know the answers to all these questions and plan accordingly for them. In poker, there are winners and losers, but even the champions can be losers if they don't pay taxes. And any money the player wins is considered taxable income by the IRS, as is the fair market value of any item you win. This simply means that there is no way to avoid paying taxes on gambling winnings. Gambling income isn't just card games and casinos. It also includes winnings from racetracks, game shows, lotteries, and possibly even bingo. Specific special rules apply to gambling income, and the IRS requires strict record-keeping requirements. So if you want to play poker in any serious capacity, then you'll have to pay rake, and a lot of it. Mainly if you prefer live poker. Running live games costs money. Organizers must pay the dealers, cards, chips, and other expenses, plus make some money for it all to make sense. The WSOP is no exception in this case. So how big is the rake in WSOP tournaments? First, how much you will pay in rake depends on the buy-in. The bigger buy-in events are raked at much lower percentages, so you get a better value from these. Also, the total fee is split between the rake and the dealer fee. The amount subtracted from the buy-in is split into two portions, the bigger of which goes to the WSOP, and the smaller bit is reserved for the dealers. So now, with that explanation out of the way, exactly what numbers are we looking at? Well, for the 2022 WSOP, the rake for the lower buy-in tournaments, where around $1,000 to $3,000 is 5 to 10%. Now, this is a substantial number, but you should also remember that organizing a festival such as the WSOP costs a lot of money. For $5,000 buy-in tournaments, the rake is said to be 7%, while for all championship events where $10,000 buy-ins were raked at 6%. Finally, for the high roller events where $25,000 and higher, the rake is 5%. So a much bigger percentage of the amount paid by the players were left in the prize pool. Some tournaments, like the One Drop, will have an additional fee, as the portion of the buy-in is also deducted for the charity in question. In the end, the WSOP rake ranges between 5 to 10%, and the higher you go, the less rake you'll pay. Now, over the past few years, there's been some discussion about whether the participants should pay the rake at the WSOP, and if they should create some sort of kickback program to give a chunk of the rake back to the winners. Now, the argument for this idea is that the World Series has significantly outgrown its original status, and it's now a main event, identical to other sports competitions. But unlike most athletes, poker players are not incentivized to participate, and are even charged money. There is some merit to the idea, but it's doubtful that the WSOP will do away with the rake soon. Although there would need to be much more interest from the sponsors, who would have to be willing to cover all the organization costs for that to happen. That happens in other sports where the tournament sponsors are happy to dish out a lot of money in exchange for some advertising opportunities. So if poker is finally accepted as a real sport, and also the situation in the US online scene changes a lot. It's usually said that two things are certain in life: death and taxes. Taxes aren't set in stone, however. It takes some skill to get the best deal possible. In poker, the only thing you can't avoid is the rake. As you all know, many WSOP matches feature big prize pools, and winners go home with life-changing amounts. But the amount won is usually substantially smaller after paying all the taxes. For instance, the 2014 WSOP main event runner-up, Felix Stephenson, won around $5.1 million for his efforts. But being from Norway and occupation listing as a professional player, he had to pay taxes of over 50%. Martin Jacobson, the fellow professional player who defeated Stephenson in the heads-up skirmish, won around $10 million. Now, being from Sweden, Martin had already been living in the United Kingdom for a long time, which means that he would be taxed. So how much did Jacobson have to give up for his 8-figure win? The answer is 0. In the United Kingdom, poker winnings are not taxable, so Martin got to keep the entire sum. So the simple truth is that once you win at the WSOP, there is really no way around paying taxes. You'll be on the line for whatever applicable amount, and it won't matter if you relocate afterwards. Now, if you're a full-time pro who grinds the WSOP every year, paying 30% or more on your winnings will significantly impact your ROI. And you don't just have to beat the rake and traveling expenses, but taxes as well. And at a certain point, you reach an unrealistic number. And for a player who only goes to the World Series for fun and to try to get lucky, this isn't a huge issue. There's no doubt that it sucks to give up so much money. However, this is an unexpected windfall in the end. It's just the same as winning the lottery. This is much different for those who count on poker to make a living. Even if you can cut down your expenses and losses, taxes would still make a big dent in your bottom line. Every career comes with its own set of challenges, and for poker players, picking their place of residence and where they pay their taxes is one of them. Now you might be thinking, with rake, taxes, and other expenses, so is WSOP even worth playing? Now, on top of the rake and taxes on any significant wins, there are also traveling expenses to add to the mix. Is it even worth bothering with the SOP tournaments? The answer is quite evident if you happen to be from one of the good countries. WSOP fields are usually quite soft, so you can expect good returns. So if you don't have to pay high taxes or don't have to pay any at all, it makes sense to get involved with the World Series. For casual players, taxes are the last thing on their minds. No recreational player will think about how much tax the players will have to pay if they win the main event. And if they can return home with any profit, that's a win. They're going to Vegas to have a good time, experience the World Series of Poker, and try to get lucky. At the same time, those who rely on poker to make a living must think about this question and find the best solution. Sadly, there's no simple answer here. And if you can't move and are stuck with paying massive taxes on your poker winnings, you need to do some serious math, especially if you're starting. Tax laws vary significantly from country to country, but there is one thing they have in common everywhere around the world, which is that they are pretty complicated. And so the bottom line is that taxes are something you'll have to look out for when playing in the WSOP. What are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed today's video and found it interesting, then make sure to leave us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon to be always updated with the most exciting content as soon as it's uploaded. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon in another video.